I had to pee all the time. I waddled so hard I thought I was going to fall over. I was arching my back so much I thought it was going to break. I was so pregnant. I got cramps often, even ones that hurt me enough to have to think through them. This second baby was taking her sweet time. Due date, January 25th, 2024. On February 5th, I felt contractions at 2 a.m. after I woke up to go to the bathroom. I was 11 days past my due date, with people continually checking in on me, which was always a reminder that I was overdue. I tried to not demand a certain timeline, but I couldn't help hoping I wouldn't go another day over. And it was here. I was praying it was really time. I laid back in bed and welcomed every uncomfortable contraction. Is this it? Am I finally going to have my baby? Am I going to be done being pregnant? Around 4 a.m., I texted my midwife to let her know what was happening. With back and forth quick information shared, she said I should get my stuff together and head to the birth center, which was almost 2 hours away. I had a prenatal appointment scheduled for the very next day, so we figured if it wasn't truly labor, we would just do my checkup. We packed and cleaned up last-minute things around the house. We never like to leave ourselves with a messy home to come back to. We loaded the dishwasher, folded the laundry sitting in the dryer, and pitter-pattered quietly while we waited for my mom to arrive to watch our daughter. Birth ball? Check. Yoga mat? Check. Birth comb, headphones, phone chargers, extra clothes, diaper bag? Check. It was 6 a.m. We're going to go get baby Adeline, I told my daughter. She had woken up from my mom coming over. She whimpered and she reached at us, wanting to come too. I wanted so badly to bring her, but I knew it wasn't feasible. I got my favorite smoothie bowl for breakfast to take to the center. This time, I was no novice. I knew I needed to eat to keep up my energy. My labor slowed down with the sun, and our next job was to wait. When mealtimes came, I made sure to eat so I would ensure having all the meals I could before the labor ahead. Wings for lunch, Chipotle for dinner. I took tinctures of magnesium to try to encourage more contractions. I had 3 midwives floating around as there was a home birth in the area and another birth center birth going on. 2 doulas had showed up during the time I was there as well. Jacob and I love the atmosphere of the birth center and the family unit. Each team we've had, no matter what combination, has been so amazing, encouraging, and fun to be around. My contractions picked up again around 5 p.m. My labor comb was my little buddy this time and got me through the day. My game plan was a lot more independent. Each contraction I could mentally stay ahead of and remain calm through was a more productive way of getting through than the first time I gave birth. Relying on Jacob for every single contraction and being nervous when he couldn't be there to do a counterpressure was an anxiety-filled method of getting through that I realized during this labor I didn't want to repeat. It was a completely different atmosphere than the first labor I had. It was a contrast between the unknown and unprepared with the determined and expected, extremely vulnerable and helpless with independence and focus. It was my mind letting my body welcome my baby with all my being. I rocked my hips back and forth, squeezed my comb, and focused my breathing. I can't even remember or explain the contractions, but I knew when one was coming and tried to stay on top of it. The more I controlled myself to allow the pain, the more effective and efficient I knew my labor was. It was pain, and then it was gone. At some point, the contractions became something I tried to stay on top of, but the flood of it covered me. I remember when it felt like nothing helped anymore. The pain itself, even though only about a minute long, was exhausting. This was familiar. The worst part, the biggest part, and the most important part. The hard, long contractions that exhaust you are the ones that mean you're nearly done. Nearly in labor terms, meaning it could be minutes or hours, but it's a sign that you'll be done sometime. Some of the contractions were so overwhelming and all-consuming that my body tried to leave itself. Of course it failed. In my head, I could see myself in third person squirming in excruciating pain that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. It's the kind of pain and exhaustion that makes you do and say the craziest things. I remember air punching one of my midwives in the face. I cried in defeat. How much longer? It can't possibly hurt more than this, right? I hung my head and sniffled. I can't keep doing this. I didn't want to be negative, but I was declining. They say this happens. When you can't is when you do, and then it's over. I wish it happened as quickly as I could say that sentence. One of my midwives said it takes almost all of you, but not more than you can handle. I concur. It's like a mob gang beating you up and leaving you with just enough air to continue lying there with a beating heart. There was a stirring from everyone around me. I'm not sure who was doing what, but all the things were being put in place for the delivery. I ate oatmeal, had coconut water, and a honey stick with tea just before this to prepare for pushing. I wanted it to be over, but I didn't want it to end like this. The only way out was this way, and I was so hesitant. I was surprised that I dreaded this stage because last time it only brought relief. It was a little after 5 a.m., and we all set up for me to push. I had envisioned a water birth in the birthing tub. As my labor progressed, I found no comfort in the tub, so we moved to the bed. That's where Juliet was born. I didn't like that either, though. After a handful of pushes, my water broke. With my first birth, I opted for them to break my water to speed up the labor. With this birth, I was GBS positive, so I was extremely thankful my water broke right before she was born. I got up to try to pee again and ended up stopping in my tracks from a strong urge to push at the side of the bed. Standing bedside with my hands on the mattress, I felt Adeline getting lower and lower. She was slowly coming into the outside world. The midwife who caught her was the one that I had met that day. She was strong, realistic, honest, and comforting. The other midwife in the room was one who was there for Juliet's birth and someone we found a great friend in. Just her presence made the experience feel safe. Warm, slippery, and with a purple hue, I held her at 6:03 a.m. She cried almost instantly. Finally, she was here. My weeping did last the night, but my joy did come in the morning.